Hey, the weird thing is when do you come in, because it always says you're live before after you are. So, but there you go. Are you off my hat now? Fine. All right. Hey, True Believers England team here with Dalton, the Authenticator. Oh yeah, that's, you got that sound thing going on. And then we've got the real Dr. VENKMAN, except no substitutes. So we're going to talk about a few things. There's a lot going around geekdom. There's a few things anyway, but it seems like there's only one story, and it's not the one I've got on the thumbnail, which is, of course, the fact that Wile, Coyote, and Roadrunner are saved. The one big story that everybody's talking about, I woke up and I saw 10 freaking videos with all the same thumbnail. So I was like, okay, that's the Friday Night Tights guys. And then a whole bunch of creative thumbnails that were saying, oh, the Marvels bombed, to which I was like, no shit. I mean, was this news to anybody? I believe we were announcing that it was bombing 4 months ago. This is not news yet. Not only is everybody making a video about how it bombed, a lot of people are watching. So that was kind of weird to me, because I was like, okay. Some people are like, and what's this mean for Marvels? Well, we found out. They're canceling the King thing. Yeah, obviously you want to say something, jump in.
It's effectively a victory lap is what it amounts to. But even then, if I had my druthers, we wouldn't be doing the victory lap until the second weekend, because as everyone knows, you can't really determine the box office behavior of anything until the second weekend drop.
I was going to bring that up because the Marvels has 2 free weeks, and then you get into Thanksgiving. If you watch the Marvels, you know it is essentially a kid's film. It's a family movie. You could take your children to it and enjoy. Next week, the big one is Hunger Games, and then the other one is Pilgrim or Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving or whatever it is, a horror film. So you don't have a lot of good go see it if you have kids movies. You have the Marvels. Mm-hmm. Now, do I think that the Marvels is going to blow up and all of a sudden get its money back? No, this is going to be a bomb. Absolutely. But how big of a bomb? It's going to really...
It's kind of interesting when their own side goes against them and says, well, what I'm saying is variety, and all the other side saying, well, it's a bomb. You know, maybe the time for the MCU is over, be profitable.
Oh.
And I thought that was
another
hilarious.
thing that has come up, and ladies and gentlemen, by all means, we have to mind our P's and Q's. Stephen King is pissed at us.
Yeah. Oh no, the key word is fun.
No, I'll actually jump on that particular train. As I said in my review, as we were talking about it, this movie was bad, but it didn't suck. I found certain scenes entertaining. One scene in particular that everybody else in the world hates is the musical scene where they get to a planet where they communicate through music. At the very freaking least, that was original. So I was like, okay, finally, we're seeing something that we haven't seen in another movie. So,
yeah. Well, no, but I'm pointing out it's so funny that the shills that can't bring themselves to say it's bad.
The John Campions of the world.
It's not a good film, but it's fun. Or, you know, it's not like other previous Marvel films, but those are too high expectations. But I had a lot of fun.
Now, saying it's not good, but it's fun, that's been around forever. I'm okay with that. What I don't like is the writing was bad. It was really poorly directed. The lighting was off. Everything about this just didn't mix. But it was pretty darn good. Yeah, okay, freaking Disney shill.
Fun.
Yeah. But we all have our guilty pleasures. I actually can see this one becoming one of mine. I'm going to just say that right out because I have no. Before you jump in there, Dalton, I have a soft spot for bad movies. You will not believe the amount of times I watched Batman and Robin going, it can't be that bad. I must have. I know I've seen it 40 fucking times, but I have to watch it because there's got to be something to grab onto. And there was nothing. I found the same thing with Catwoman. Catwoman defeated me. I could not find anything to enjoy about Catwoman. and then they got out the freaking DVD pack with Joel Schumacher giving me an apology, and I was like, now I can enjoy Batman and Robin. I don't think I've ever I have watched the film just by itself since that thing came out. I'll put it on and I'll go, okay, Joel, tell me how sorry you are. All righty, that's it.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Jim Sorson says, really, the channel where a guy obviously hasn't read the comics explaining is shutting down? Who would guess?
Yeah, that's right. I did put on, we have a few stories to talk about. We got the Wile Coyote getting saves, the Marvels bombing, and Comics Explained is shutting down. So says Bounding Into Comics.
No. Well, is this the same as a comic historian?
Comic historian, comic historian, whichever one.
Yeah.
Point being,
they're related channels, but they're related channels, and they often do crossovers with each other. But they are two separate channels. One is run by a guy named Benny.
Yeah.
One is run by a guy named Rob.
Okay. Well, real quick though, before we get on to that, I want to actually say that I agree with Englentine here on something. I was thinking about it yesterday.
I know.
I know.
It's unbelievable.
Is the moon bleeding?
Yeah. Well, no, again, it was your comment about Marvel Studios in terms of how to fix this. And when you look at it, the problem is, I think you agree, they're not going to do it. They're incapable. No. They're incapable of doing it. I don't think they see it, in all honesty. Yeah. But if as you said, they treated it as a studio, then you start splitting these up into franchises. Mm-hmm. Then you can do a $80 million fun, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel team up movie. You can do, a horror type movie, because the problem is when you're talking about a franchise, think about the other things we talk about franchises. You get an expectation when this is part of X franchise, then that movie has to fit within that box of a franchise. And when we're talking about Marvel MCU franchise, then we're talking about, okay, it has to be an action film. It should have a little bit of humor into it. And then, of course, it's got to interconnect with 30 other movies.
When was the last time you watched the first 5 films? The Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Captain America, Thor, Avengers, Iron Man 2. I
know I've seen Iron Man within the last 2 months.
Okay, so when you watch those and then you watch a modern one, and I'm saying modern would be, I guess, phase 2, maybe phase 3 and up. When the Guardians of the Galaxy hit. After that, all of the movies began to look alike. They were shot on film. They were done by different directors. You didn't have your central figure that was running things. And let's face it, Kevin Feige did a really good job of steering the ship. Not going to put that, I'm not going to take that away from him. He did a pretty good job of it. But what ended up happening was everything looked homogenized. Everything all of a sudden didn't have its own look and feel. The first handful of movies were their own movies. They were their own self-contained stories that then they all came together for the Avengers big movie, Mm-hmm. Then they decided that they needed one story. And the worst part about that is they train their audience that they need one story. I've said that many times. You just don't, you can watch this movie without watching that movie. You don't need everything to connect, except for you were the one that was arguing against. No, they've shown us that now films are connecting. If they did it the way we're talking, where it's Marvel Studios and Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, Photon, even if you wanted to throw Nova in there, or maybe even Champions, you could have those maybe crossover, but they would have that look. They would have a different look, a different feel. We can have horror movies. We could have the Ant-Man heist films. The worst thing they did to Ant-Man, well, first of all, it was the reshoots, making it a big budget film. If the Ant-Man was budgeted the same as Ant-Man 2 and Ant-Man and Ant-Man the Wasp, that movie would have been a big hit. But because they decided it was going to be the next Avengers, they fucked up. But that's just my take on that. But yeah, they need to separate it. They need to, okay, you bring in the X-Men, we're bringing in the Fantastic Four. Cool. Make them their own freaking franchise.
I agree with you. The whole Ant-Man 3 kind of felt like I was watching Miss Marvel. Mm-hmm. In a sense, it felt like very kid-friendly.
Yeah, it's a different feel from the first two films. Now, granted, even the first two films didn't match in the way that Ant-Man was a heist film. Ant-Man 2 was a farce. My big comparison, and I know a lot of the old farts might get this, and a lot of you young people might not. It really compares to a film called What's Up, Doc, starring Ryan O'Neal and Barbara Streisand. It is a very freaking funny film. And it very much also, like Ant-Man 2, had a where's the right briefcase kind of plot. And it worked. And I liked Ant-Man 2, especially when I realized they were doing What's Up, Doc. But, you know, you want to say something?
Okay. Yeah, the thing I guess I'm going to have to be the contrarian one here, because I don't think the interconnectedness is what nerfs them. I think what nerfs them is not thinking of each project as an individual project. Because when you think about it, the MCU movies that are the most successful are the ones that are the most distinct. Multiverse of Madness had its, you know, Sam Raimi-ish Lovecraftian stuff going on. Guardians of the Galaxy has its, you know, comedic space opera thing going on, and so on, and so on, and so on. Civil War is a political thriller, etc., etc., etc. Where they fell short with Wakanda Forever, Thor: Love and Thunder, Quantumania, and of course the Marvels, is they don't actually seem to see these movies as individual movies that need to be treated like individual movies, and that's why they're so thrown together and lazy. It's because they're constantly thinking. It's the movie equivalent of writing for the trades, which is, I know, a complaint that we've all had before.
That's kind of what we're saying, but you're bringing it to one film instead of franchise.
Yeah, no, I don't think you need to separate out the universes. I think the strength of the MCU is its interconnectedness, but the strength of the interconnectedness was, when it was working, that a rising tide raises all ships. When each individual movie is good, that translates into the entire franchise is doing well. But when, as we see now, every other project is a unspeakable disaster piece, that, as a result, lowers all ships. So even when you have a movie like Multiverse of Madness that is good, you wind up with people poo-pooing it for reasons that make no freaking sense. And so on.
Well, they might not like it as much as you.
Why didn't they just throw Spider-Man into every movie? Like a cameo. Like a comic book they do.
Turn off your phone there, dude. Dalton's having a little sound problem, so he will be raising his hand and doing like he was doing.
Well, real quickly, I mean, again, to kind of echo what Dalton was talking about, the other problem, though, is the interconnectedness has gotten so unwieldy that now it's too easy to say, okay, why wasn't Captain Marvel over here? Or looking at this Marvel's film, you know, where's War Machine? Where's Captain Marvel? Where's, especially like Cosmic? Okay, where are the Guardians of the Galaxy? You know, why aren't they, you know, coming in to help?
The first time I heard anybody ask that question was all the way back in Thor: Dark World. If you have dark elves invading England or wherever it was, wouldn't the Avengers go, holy shit, we're being invaded, let's go get these aliens also?
Wouldn't you have your other heroes, like the Avengers, showing up? And the show, they got like a 5-second cameo. They don't have to be there for the whole entire thing. It's just that it's like it's Mark Grunwald. Whenever something happened, it happened in another movie. You saw, they talked about it. It was referenced, at least.
Well, and especially when you've got Fury in this. I mean, we just saw in Secret Invasion, you know, he had this, you know, secret batch of DNA of all of these heroes.
Yeah.
So you're telling me he's up on Sword, he knows who all the heroes are, and he can't call anybody else? I mean, you know, come on.
Yeah, the Marvel's Nick Fury is not the Secret Invasion Nick Fury. They're just not the same character.
Yeah.
Go on ahead, Dalton.
to that point, has anyone mentioned the fact that the fact that the Earth was basically a celestial egg, apparently, and that there is now a giant stone golem in the middle of the ocean? Like, nothing from literally nothing from Eternals mattered. Now, granted, because that movie did literally everything wrong, that's ultimately probably a good thing, but it still doesn't make sense.
Yeah, supposedly that is supposed to be raised, at least in the current filmed version of Captain America 4, aka It's Falcon.
And they're getting a sequel movie to that too as well.
Yeah, oh, bullshit! I'll believe that when the film when the digital film actually runs on that. But I just wanted to say real quickly too. It's funny because I know one of the complaints that people have been making, especially about the MCU TV shows, is that a big failure with those are they're not being run like television shows, but they're being run like movies.
Yeah,
and
I just read that.
With this one, I've realized too that the opposite is true with the movies. Feige is running as a showrunner. These movies are being run more like television shows, where the director is just a hired hand to come in and say, action, cut, give me more, give me less. And then it's turned over to the showrunner, who then goes into the editing bay and tries to splice together.
A lot of directors have said that's not my movie. Feige fucked with it. There were a lot, including, I think, what's her name from Eternals. And like, I'll just point again, go back to those first 5 where you did actually have directors poking around doing their own thing. I think Russo brothers got some respect, but beyond that, yeah, we're hearing a lot of filmmakers come out and say it's just not the way to do things.
Yep. Hey, Dalton, go.
And to both of those points, one, it's noteworthy that the movies that people like the most are the ones where the director does get to play, where you can see the Sam Raimi behind Doctor Strange 2, where you can see the James Gunn behind Guardians of the Galaxy, where you can see the Russo brothers in Captain America's 2 and 3, and so on. But also, I actually forgot what. Oh, the thing about Eternals getting a sequel. I'm looking forward to Eternals actually getting a sequel. And the reason is, one of Marvel's biggest strengths in the past has been, when they screw up, they are at least, or they were at least, willing to course correct. When Thor, The Dark World was a complete and utter tonal disaster, they Ragnaroked it. So I am actually excited for Eternals 2, in the hopes that they will remember, oh, hey, shouldn't there be some Jack Kirby in this Jack Kirby adaptation? Which, again, I'm going to give Marvel some help here and say, for the love of God, boot Chloe Zhao out of the director's chair and get Robert Rodriguez, because that guy knows how to Jack Kirby. The biggest problem with Robert Rodriguez in the past has been he has the creative ambition to do Kirby-esque things, but he has never had, with the exception of Alita Battle Angel, the budget to do anything like that on that scale. But as we saw with Alita Battle Angel, when the man has a budget to work with, which Marvel budgets are a budget, certainly, he can go full Kirby as and when he wants to. So get Robert Rodriguez into the director's chair for Eternals, and basically rebuild the thing from the ground up as a Jack Kirby adaptation, for fuck's sake.
Oh, turn on your mic before you speak there, dude.
Well, I didn't want to echo. That's all right. My bad. Because I don't want to kiss you because you're doing a thing. I was gonna say, get Robert Rodriguez to do a Blade TV series.
That would actually be cool too.
He did his. No, he did it from Dusk Till Dawn series. Great.
Yeah.
All the way through.
Yeah.
Who I would get to do Blade though is Eli Roth. I would get Eli Roth to do Blade.
That's one bloody Blade. All right. There you go. Marvel's bombed. If you want your prize, go on over. Talk to Gary about it on Friday Night Tights, because apparently they've got all the prizes there. Yay, we bombed, we win. But also, I guess you guys are already talking about it. So let's go to the second topic of the night here. And I've actually got an article from the Hollywood Reporter. That's whom I take things from, and it is
Wait, you don't take them from
Warner Brothers reverses course on Coyote versus what? I'm moving on to the next thing. What's up?
Yeah, I was just making a joke. You don't get it from Rich Johnson?
No, I don't. Nor do I go to bloody. If I do go into bounding into comics, I try to find the original. But yeah, for Hollywood Reporter tends to be okay. I mean, they're all leftist rags, but what you gonna do? You're kind of stuck when it comes to stuff like this. As a matter of fact, I do have a bounding into comics in just a little bit. Okay, let me move this in so I can see comments and such. So Warner Brothers reverses course on Coyote versus Acme after filmmakers rebel. And it goes on to say, with Roadrunner like speed, Warner Brothers Discovery has reversed its decision to bury the Coyote versus Acme. The studio will now allow director Dave Green to shop his live-action animation hybrid to other potential buyers instead of shelving the project for a tax write-off. Hollywood Reporters confirmed Amazon is said to be a contender in the mix, with screenings for potential buyers taking place this month. Puck was first to report. Okay, so another one, another magazine or something got it. The move comes days after the news broke that Coyote Acme would be Warner Brothers' third film already shot and shelved. And Batgirl and Scoob Holiday Hunt were the other two. After Batgirl and Scoob were dumped, a group of filmmakers with businesses at the studio started a text chain, a support group of sorts, to share their hopes and their anxieties, as well as encouragement and tips for navigating the studio. The one question all of them had: what was going on with their movies? So a whole bunch of filmmakers got together, and they're talking about, wait a second, if we make a movie here, is it going to be released or is it going to be shelved? The Coyote cancellation roiled the creative community, perhaps even harder than Batgirl and Scoob, because those had been positioned as a one-off change in strategy, never to happen again. According to sources, after the Coyote versus Acme news broke last week, several filmmakers instructed reps to cancel meetings they had on the books with Warner's. But now that Coyote may ultimately find a new home, these filmmakers are taking the wait-and-see approach. So this opens up something that is interesting to me, because I freaking hate the fact that they removed Batgirl. I really do. I don't give a shit if it's a piece of crap. I truly don't. I don't give a shit if Batgirl ends up being the worst film. If it makes the Marvels look like Captain Marvel, then hey, I think it's I still want to see it.
That article had said that it was the only one out of all of them that was completed. The other ones, it's like Batgirl, and then were not completed. That's
they had some special effects to do, but Wile E. Coyote was ready to go.
Yeah. Well, I think they had a whole lot more to go with Batgirl, and I don't have a problem with that decision, because again, you look at ultimately you're releasing films to make a profit, and so they had to ask themselves, okay, this isn't a good movie. How many hundreds of millions of dollars, or tens of millions of dollars, are we going to spend to put this out and have zero hope of ever recouping anything back?
Well, now
I think the Coyote thing is a little bit different, and I mean, I hope it's actually good.
Yeah.
And we'll see. And
well, here's my take on Batgirl, and I do agree with you. This isn't so much of an argument as to you're wrong. I just think that if they do the same kind of thing that they're talking with the Wile E. Coyote, they find somebody willing to bring in some extra financing, maybe put it on their live stream, their streaming services or something. But yeah, there you go. So the news, the Coyote versus Acme may still have a chance. Very exciting, not only for fans longing to see the film, which sounded extremely cool, but for anyone who dislikes the idea of studio execs trashing work in exchange for a tax break. That's been a growing problem for the last year, and this possibility for Coyote versus Acme begs a question: if Warner Brothers has the ability to let brand adjacent properties go, and if that movie can get shopped around for a second chance, why can't Batgirl? Now, Coyote vs. Acme was praised by those who had seen it and worked on it, and there was intense backlash at the idea of it being canned. for a tax write-off. Batgirl's axing saw similar blowback from a lot of angry fans. My thinking is exactly like I said. It might be bad. It probably would have been bad, except for, of course, Brendan Fraser, who is never bad. But let us decide that. If Warner Brothers is willing to let movies get shopped around instead of fully killing them, it's the least they could do for Batgirl. Right now, as it stands, a nearly finished movie many, including myself, were excited about, has been locked away for a tax write-off. Actually, according to Screen Rant, Warner Brothers can technically still release the movie even though it was written off. That doesn't mean they'll do it, and they probably won't, but it hurts to know that they could have at that time let those who worked on the film shop it elsewhere instead of just letting their hard work go to waste. And that's what I have to say. Whether or not it was going to be good or bad doesn't matter. I want the chance to watch this film and say it's going to be bad. Let LK go, and then you'll go.
Okay, sure.
So once again, first, I don't trust Screen Rant that
me neither. That's why
they could release this movie and not get hit double with the tax or whatever the penalties are. But again, completely different situations. I'm pretty sure that if Warner's is going to license out Coyote, they're going to darn well get as much of the production budget back from the fees of Amazon or whoever they send it out to. So it's going to come back to probably being as close to a net zero as possible. From everything that we read, there's no chance with the Batgirl movie. I think they already spent $70 million on it. It wasn't complete. I think they were going to do reshoots initially. You're talking about, let's just be conservative and say there's another 20 to 30 million that's going to have to be spent to finish off effects, do any reshoots and whatever to actually make it into a presentable film. And then don't forget too, originally it was going to be an HBO Max release. It wasn't scheduled to be a studio release. So are you going to find a streamer somewhere that's going to pay you, say, $100
I would say about 120 million because they would want to make a profit. So you'd want to, they would probably get 70 million and then probably 20 on top of that, just so they can say they made a profit off of what they had already put into it. And then the studio that picks it up would have to spend, like you said, I would not be as conservative. I would say 30 to 50 million dollars definitely on the research, because not only do you have to do whatever special effects they have to go for, but you would also have to bring Brendan Fraser back after he's had such a big push with the Oscar win. And you would also have to, all the actors involved have to come back. So you have to give them an incentive too, especially after you've just said, go screw.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this. I'll be cynical. I mean, the fact that, basically the James Gunn DC universe is already DOA, that, it wouldn't actually hurt it if...
Wait, what happened? Did they cancel it? Or are you just being a fuck nut?
I think he's saying conceptually.
I'm being a cynic. I'm being a cynical a-hole.
That's what I said. Fuck nut.
Because they have continually shot themselves in the foot with every statement they make. And
How?
The latest was the way they've released the movies, the way they've gone back and forth.
They haven't released any movies.
As we said, though, he never should have said anything day one.
Oh, I agree. Until Aquaman came out and they had a little break, don't say a freaking word. You and I agree on that.
They have, and he continually says stuff that just makes it look bad. And with each DC movie that gets released,
movies gotten none of his movies have gotten released.
I know none of his movies have gotten released. But again, you have to think like
because
a normie.
Flash got you're speaking like Gary over there. You're speaking like Ryan fucking Kennel. Ryan Kennel is a functional retard.
It's legitimate. Because it's legitimate. You have to think like a normie.
It isn't.
They're not separating. Oh yeah, this is the Snyder.
It isn't legitimate. You got Ryan Kennel just released a video where he's telling the next movies are already gonna bomb. He's already digging the fucking graves. They're doing this like in advance. holy fuck, this movie's gonna suck. This movie does suck. That's what I said in the last day. They go from, oh, it's gonna bomb, it's not gonna make money, it's not gonna make money, oh, it's gonna be really bad, this movie already sucks. Or like you said, three times, these movies bombed already. They're bad. You haven't seen line one from any film, and you're convinced every movie is sucky.
The track record. I'm not saying the movie itself.
Dude, there's no track record of, you know what James Gunn's track record for DC
it's
is?
A track record
Suicide
of
Squad.
DC movies.
And that was
it's
fucking
a track
awesome.
record of DC movies, and normies just see, oh, it's another DC movie. It's gonna happen.
No,
This is why he shouldn't have said anything in the first place.
And that's
until
false.
They were
Normies,
close to actually
that we agree on. After Aquaman, you make your announcement. Yes.
Normies know what's Snyderverse, and they know what's James Gunnverse. James Gunnverse hasn't happened. This has been Snyderverse, and the last few movies, and then they're going to get it. They already announced 2025.
Normies don't know it is Snyderverse. They know it is DC and DC only.
The Snyderverse guys can go fucking suck their own dicks.
My thing is, how do you know what normies do and what normies don't? Okay.
There's assuming. You definitely don't know what normies think if you're watching only the black pills.
And if you're only seeing Twitter, yeah, normies. A lot of people aren't.
No
on
bleeding
Twitter.
fool at all, Undead Quinn. I just don't. I want Coyote jerky. That actually can be done. Batgirl was total loss as Undead Quinn, which is absolutely true. I want to see it, but I know that's a pipe dream.
A lot of normies don't know that Batman's actually not Marvel.
By the way, Dalton's going nuts. Go on ahead, Dalton.
Okay, yeah. Can I throw my 2 cents in on this whole DC being a lost cause?
Because of the echo, nobody's going to be stepping on you except for me. Go on ahead.
Echo.
Okay.
Echo. Sorry.
Okay. Now.
Now betting.
I am on.
I feel like the luckiest man in the world.
Okay. Is everybody done? Can I
national anthem? Enrico Palazzo.
Okay, go ahead, Dalton. It's all you.
Okay. Is everybody good? Can I talk now? Because I'm trying to be considerate by muting when I'm not talking so that the echo doesn't get.
I'm sorry. We're all eight. Go ahead. It's on. It's you, man.
Now, if I can get a word in edgewise after being polite enough to mute so that the echo doesn't destroy everything. Okay. I'm of 2 minds on the whole DC thing. Because I don't give a crap what the, strawmaniest of the strawman normies might say, the people who don't even know the difference between DC and Marvel. However, as someone who does follow the behind-the-scenes stuff, and who does know that James Gunn cannot keep his story straight for 5 freaking minutes, it's not just the fact that he announced prematurely that is the problem. A lot of the problems that I see prematurely prior to, him getting his day in the sun is that he is conceptually throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. The fact that, for example, he wants to have basically an entire Justice League or pseudo-Justice League in Superman Legacy, which relates back to something he said years ago where he said he didn't really understand Superman and didn't really want to make a Superman movie, therefore implying that maybe he's trying to avoid having to actually focus on Superman by cramming it so full of characters. The fact that it's called Superman Legacy, which is typically a subtitle you give to a sequel, not a brand spanking new movie. The fact that they are already diving back into the big 3 instead of letting the big 3 cool off, especially in light of the whole Henry Cavill scandal. The fact that he keeps having meetings with people and then going back on what he says in those meetings, or he'll say one thing 1 minute, he'll get pushed back on Twitter, he'll say some stupid thing to the people on Twitter, and then he'll say something completely different. It is conceptually on shaky ground, and I think I side with LK on that. It's not about what the normies think or what the strawmaniest of the strawman normies are going to think. It's based on the fact that we do at least know what's going on behind closed doors to some degree, and what we know of what's going on behind closed doors is a complete clusterfuck unto itself, let alone the complete hard reset that is, from the... Because there was already a soft reboot between the end of the Snyderverse and the sort of post-Snyderverse era that included things like Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Black Adam, etc. And now you're doing a hard reset on top of that already is borked, because instead of actually finishing his Phase 1 announcement, he only announced the first half of his Phase 1, and what we've gotten creatively explained to us about those projects, it doesn't seem to work in and of itself. But yeah, so even though we haven't seen anything from it yet, and even though James Gunn might pull a miracle out of his ass, because he's James Gunn and he's been known to do that on occasion, the concept behind a lot of these ideas does not make sense, period, no matter what the normies are going to think. And there's so much drama behind the scenes of DC anyway that it's going to be a Hail Mary pass to even make something salvageable out of this new version.
See, if you do add on, if you say things like it's conceptual, the concept doesn't seem right, or if you say it seems as if, or maybe so, it looks like, okay, fine. But when you say it is, you haven't seen one goddamn thing, and it's coming from James Gunn, which I will remind you that his history with DC Comics is the good Suicide Squad, the one everybody likes. We've seen what he can do, and he does well. And it seems like, at least with the Guardians of the Galaxy, with the Suicide Squad, when he does things, he actually cares. Maybe he doesn't care for Superman the way we know him, and I hope he doesn't fuck him up too bad. But it seems like when he is into a project, he makes sure that that project is done well. So I'm a little bit more optimistic, but my whole thing, I do agree with LK that nothing should have been announced until the end of the year after Aquaman, because as we saw the damage done, nobody cares about what's going on. I'm wondering how much of this year is because he made that announcement. Because here's something else normies don't get right. Marvel and DC are two different companies. We see that even here with Universal and Disney. People come down and they think Universal Studios and Disney are the same company. So they'll be in Walt Disney World, ask where the Harry Potter ride is. They'll be in Universal Studios and ask where they could ride the Little Mermaid. So a lot of people just don't understand that these are two different companies. That you get Marvel movies and DC movies. Go on ahead.
Phrasing.
Oh, ride the Little Mermaid. No, you don't ride the Little Mermaid. She just squirts eggs onto a rock, and then another mermaid comes by and fertilizes them.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and again, I mean, the other thing I'll just say with this is, at least from the information that's come out, I feel like, again, that James Gunn has taken the wrong lessons from why the MCU, or the Marvel universe, became so big. He's jump started. He's trying to start at Phase 2 or Phase 3, when it's just stop talking about an interconnected universe. Stop talking about all these films. Make a Superman film. Make the Superman film. Build that world, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Absolutely. That is something we agree on. I don't want... in all honesty, I want the whole connected universe thing dropped. Not as like you can't bring the characters together for a big threat, but like when we read comics. Batman comics are about Batman. Doesn't mean he can't be in the JLA. You get good single issue stories of the character you're following, and then when the big threat comes, when Darkseid shows up, the Justice League comes together. I don't mind that at all, but I truly, truly want them just to stop. Just stop connecting every goddamn movie. It's not necessary. Batman v Superman should have been a movie about Batman versus Superman. And instead they were trying to build the universe based off of that movie. So I don't know. That's my take on it, and that's where I stand with it. So Anything else? Anyone want to? It'll be the closeout. Okay, one more thing, Dalton. Keep it brief.
Yeah. And then to that point, they're rushing into interconnecting the universe thing. That is one of James Gunn's problems as well. To the thing about how he's trying to cram the entire Justice League into Superman Legacy. It's basically making the same mistake as Batman v Superman all over again. And you would think that someone would have stopped him and gone, hey, we tried this 10 years ago and it didn't work, James, cool it. But they didn't.
And there we go. All right, hold on just a sec.
Yeah. Well, I mean, while you're doing that, so I mean, I'm just going to read.
Go
this.
ahead.
So
Yeah.
What we know is the MCU. This is how it came about. Avi Arad finally convinced Perlmutter and company, yes, instead of licensing these movies out and getting the small percentage back, that we need to do all these in-house. We need to create the Marvel Studios. But Perlmutter didn't want to take the risk because of, as he says, feast or famine when it comes to movies. So they put together a deal with Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch provided Marvel with $525 million and allowed Marvel to greenlight any movie it wanted with a budget up to $165 million as long as the movie was rated PG-13. Marvel would put up no cash and assume no risk. In addition, Marvel would keep all the consumer product rights. But what the deal was is if they didn't make a profit or they didn't pay back that $525 million after they made 4 movies, they were on the block were Ant-Man, The Avengers, Black Panther, Captain America, Doctor Strange, Hawkeye, Nick Fury, Power Pack, Shang-Chi. All those characters could have gone to basically Merrill Lynch if Iron Man hadn't become the hit, and more importantly, hadn't beaten Hulk to be the first movie out from this deal.
That is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can't find this guy again. It was Comics Explained. Okay, I'm trying to find the tweet that I had, and I accidentally closed it down.
Yeah. Well, that's because you don't have, a team of people making your videos.
Yeah, that is something that's been talked about for.
I saw a tweet about it. I forget whose tweet that I followed on it, and I started watching this video, and I made it kind of about halfway through because I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, you made a gamble and you lost, and it's basically he's cutting back because there was some investor they made a deal with, and that investment fell through. And
so I guess I don't have it. I do have the Bounding into Comics thing. So forgive. I did at one point in time have his response, which I don't believe Bounding into Comics put up. So take it with a grain of salt. So Comicstorian, this is John Delarose. Comicstorian threatens to shut down channel due to low interest. He says, let's see, Marvel Cinematic. Okay, so there's, to get into it, there was...
the video's right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to watch it, but I mean...
Is that the Comicstorian video?
Yeah, right there. Yes. Goodbye.
That's his goodbye or a new journey. So,
alrighty.
Am I saying goodbye, or will I get enough people to donate on Patreon to
yeah, I got to tell you, that's something I was going to bring up. Let's turn this thing on, see where it goes. Tell me if you guys can hear it.
Hello, I'm here to say goodbye or celebrate the future of comic story. That cross here.
Yeah, can hear it.
Yep.
Technology company, and it's up for you to decide.
Hold on. Oh, YouTube is blocked? Wait, what? That thing just said YouTube is blocked.
Okay.
I tried to huh. Wow. Okay. I tried to put it on YouTube to watch it, and it just told me it was blocked.
Oh, that, yeah. No, I wouldn't be surprised on that. Just see if it'll let you just play it in the window there
Yeah.
of the page.
Okay. All right.
Decide what you want from us. We can either go down the route of cutting down the staff and just doing 1 or 2 videos a week and just me going back to the original comic historian, or we can continue as is with the current staff and everyone involved. We can continue making all the same projects that you're used to, 5 to 6 comic book videos a week, 1 to 2 on-camera commentary videos. We can continue to make 3 to 5 different podcasts on the podcast channel. We can continue to do Comic Story and Full Story, which is a...
Okay, so here's the thing that I
How
definitely
much
want.
staff he has?
Yeah,
That's my first question.
right, because he can't make videos. Now, here's the thing. We're friends. This is not a staff. As they sometimes joke, and definitely Eric pokes and prods me about, is I can't afford to pay anybody, but this guy's got I'm actually thinking, wait, what? Why do you have what? Because I guess he's got a lot of people, and let me tell you, it does take a lot grabbing the pictures and doing all that kind of stuff. It's so much is so much easier to do a live stream than an actual video, because you have to gather stuff from around. Obviously he would, okay, guys, we're going to do this video. It's going to be about Thor number 17, go. And they will break it down. They'll write scripts for him and so forth and so on. So all he has to do is come in and record. And that's what he's talking about here. Now, if you don't have the same amount of staff, you can't do as many videos. Trust me, I've tried to do daily videos, and it is rough.
Spin-off channel that we started, and we can continue to do Manga Storian and Dungeons and Ale and Comics Experiment. Now you're probably wondering what I'm talking about. Well, to be honest with you, ever since COVID, Comic Storian has been working in a deficit. When COVID first hit, we decided initially that this is probably due to the fact that there's no MCU projects and no DCEU projects, so we just need to hold on until they all come back. Well, they did come back, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but they aren't doing that well. Where that is eventually...
So most of his stuff is based on the movies?
Or Marvel, yeah.
Honestly, I don't know, because I think I've probably maybe come across a video a time or two, but I've never subscribed to him, never done anything.
Yeah. Are there any Comic Storian fans? If you could tell me, does he? I like Comic Storian when he used to do the older storylines.
Dalton.
I know he's ignoring Dalton.
Oh no, I've got this screen up. I actually can't see him. So go on ahead, Dalton. Ahead, Dalton. Sorry.
Okay. I've watched both Comics Explained and Comic Storian occasionally, and yeah, most of their content is basically translating comics to normies that just got back from the theater and want to know what's going on or what it might relate to in the actual comics.
So I have to change my title because I said Comics Explained.
Yeah, no, it's This guy is Benny from Comic Storian, not Rob from Comics Explained.
Today I learned they're two different people.
Also, click on the giant-sized superhero Spider-Man. Go to Geeky Puppet Show.
Oh, look at that. There you go. By the way, yeah, you're getting a little bit of this is what I watch. So there you are. Anyway, let's continue with the video. But thank you very much for the information there, Dalton.
Led to is we are running a circle now, basically, of whenever a big movie comes out, like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or Spider-Man No Way Home, we do great. We make enough money to support the staff for 3 to 4 months at a time. Then when we have bad movies that come out, like The Flash or Blue Beetle, or no big events happen in comic books like King in Black, then we kind of work at a deficit. Up until now, it's been an interesting ride of yo-yoing for 13 years of doing this. And I've managed to prepare for this inevitability of having to shut down Comic Storian. But my original...
Okay, now I may be the dick here, but sounds like a you problem. I'm just going to say it. It sounds like, look, you took on too much. Sorry, but you did. Your eyes got saucer big and you said, woo, this gravy train's got biscuit wheels. Let's go. And you said if you really planned for it, you wouldn't be in this position. And if you tie yourself, it's just like the freaking Swaggle House crap and the Comic Tom crap. You tie your shit to the movies, you're going to live and die by the movies. And that's what seems like this guy has done. Let's see. I vaguely recall viewing one or two of Comics Explained and Comic Story video back in the day before I found DNC and I Love Comics and so on in no particular order. And Undead says, it's like you rely too much on Marvel and DC, says Undead Quinn. Or at least the movies. Go on ahead, Van.
I remember this is the same guy would be like, oh, this is the origins of John Constantine, origins of this, origins of this. It's like after a while you run out of DC character, Marvel characters, the origins of, so you're in a niche already to begin with.
The weird thing about that, because I'm really I've been doing videos so I could just put out a whole bunch of videos at once and not have to worry about it. But the weird thing about that is, one, sometimes those obscure characters pay off. The #1 video on From the Long Box, where I put all my comic book videos, is Bob the Hydra Agent. Not anybody like huge and big. Bob the fucking Hydra Agent is the #1 video, the comic book origin of. That being said, of course, Captain Picard's brother is probably one of the least watched videos, but but there are so many out there. If you just expand your horizons to include some independent comic books. By the way, it's impossible for me to find a digital copy of the first appearance of Casper and the first appearance of Hot Stuff. If anybody has a line on one of those, please let me know. That being said, let's continue this.
The plan was to straight up shut down Comicstorian, cut down to just the bare minimum that I want to do for fun and call it a day. Originally, we were going to do that back in April. I was going to shut down all of the ancillary projects, and it was going to be me and 2 people basically doing Comicstorian as you know it, but at a very reduced rate. We were going to do 1 to 2 comic book videos a week and 1 on-screen commentary video a week. Instead, an investor who has helped us out through COVID and through COPPA, which was a weird period on YouTube stuff, came back and said that they wanted me to go run a new production house. But as a caveat, they wanted to invest in Comicstorian to keep it going as is, and I couldn't leave Comicstorian. This sounded like a dream job. I get to go do new stuff. I get to keep doing the thing that I love, and all of my buddies get to stay around. So in April, instead of cutting down the staff and cutting down everything, we kept going as is, running all the side projects, running all the main channel stuff, and doing what you know. We launched other projects, such as Comicstorian Full Story, where we put out old full stories and new full stories. We got ourselves on Spotify. We got ourselves doing other things over on the podcast channel and doing Dungeons & Dragons.
Spotify is actually something I'm looking into as well, to put some of our older live streams on. And because some of them, it's like same shit, different day. We've already talked about a lot of the stuff that's happening. I might do that Simpsons thing, where instead of where it's like Alex Avert or whatever his name was, or today we're talking about Heather Antos. Now we're doing Kylie Sudaconic. You know, you just gotta redub whatever name you're talking about. It's the same freaking story. Same things that happened in 2016, 17, 18 is now happening all over again. All righty. So all right, let's see what we got. Hey, Tevia, actually, Comicstorian isn't shutting. Well, yeah, I was going to get to that, but thank you for killing the lead there. Comicstorian isn't shutting down. Good. Yep. Yeah, actually, he said that. I'll bust since you guys brought it up there. One of the things I wanted to find was a tweet that I couldn't find it, but he put out a tweet that basically said, "You guys twisted the fuck out of my words."
You want that? I'll send it to you right now.
Yeah, if you or just highlight it so when it comes to it, you can we'll share it from your page. All right, let's continue here.
I just tossed in the sports ball.
Well, without going into the nitty gritty of exactly what happened, because that's like a whole crazy, practically a movie itself thing, the investor never got the funds needed to give to us. What that has led to is we are now tapped on funds and we just don't have it. Meaning I can't keep the staff around. I'd love to keep the staff around. I would love to go back to doing Dungeons & Dragons.
Wow, I actually thought I was bad with money, which I am. But basically he got the promise of money and spent like he already had it. Instead of putting a pause and saying, okay, as soon as we get the money, we'll restart, we'll go. But right now we're going to be going on a limited budget. When we get the money from you, we'll expand. Sure, fine. Instead, he said, woohoo, let's go. We're buying the gold toilet today. Yeah.
It's like you buying the books for next 2 weeks auctions. And they're like, oh, crap.
I got money from Vezerin and Dave in advance. And instead of putting it aside, I went and I bought for like 3 weeks worth of auction books in advance. Didn't work out. All right, let's move forward here. Bum, bum.
Or doing Comics Experiment, or just keep doing our podcast. But I'm also a realist. I'm also aware that we've gone on for 13 years and you guys just might not care about Comicstorian anymore. And that's fine. I'm not upset. I prepared for this inevitability to happen in 2018. So I prepared for the inevitability of one day my YouTube career comes to its ending. That was what I prepared for. But I've had a lot of fun kind of like invigorating my love for doing this over the last 2 years, up to the point of the investor coming in and me being like, yeah, let's keep doing this. I'm having a blast. So
I have to admit, it goes in ebbs and flows. You do get to the point where it's like, good Lord, I just don't. I don't know if I have it in me anymore, because especially if your videos, now he works on a different scale as I do, but if you are watching your videos and you see, like I say in the past, I used to get a couple thousand, maybe if it was in the hundreds, it was in like 7 to 1,000. And then you see, ooh, wow, this one made 150 views. That's awesome. Yeah. Once you get there, it's kind of a punch in the gut, and you got to find why you like doing this. Live streams are awesome because I get to have LK and Dalton and what's his name, and Eric sometimes comes on these days, and Maranya's doing her thing with the RPG. You got all these really cool people to hang around with, and VENKMAN, and it's a lot of fun. It is, but when it comes to making videos, it gets more and more difficult. I understand this, and you got to find a way to climb back into it.
I chatted it out with the team before we go the route of fully cutting back all of Comicstorian to just being 1 to 2 comic book videos and a commentary video a week. We thought we'd present it to you. This is why we're at this crossroads, that you get to decide the future of Comicstorian. Do we become a reduced content channel and this has been a great 13 years and we all sign off, or do we keep going as is? I don't foresee.
Did anybody hear that? Okay. We either become a reduced channel and we all sign off, meaning we close down. He just said 2 different things. We either become a reduced channel, which means you're still making videos, but at a different speed, maybe a different quality, or we're gone. He's trying to scare his audience at this point, because he started with, we're going to be doing videos different, to we're not going to be doing them at all. Go on ahead, Dalton.
I think what he meant, being somewhat charitable to him, is that he'll have to fire the staff, he'll have to scale back the infrastructure, and it'll basically be like, I don't know when he started the channel, but similar to when and where he first started, it seems like. I think that's what he meant.
Okay.
Still poorly phrased, but
yeah.
I think that's what he meant.
That he wasn't being manipulative.
No, Maranya is saying, yeah, I believe that he meant that both he and his audience would sign off on the idea.
Okay.
Us being able to sustain ourselves as is without your help until 2025. And if I have to lay off everyone for a year, they're not coming back. We're not restarting in 2025. So what we've decided to do is what a lot of channels do when they start kind of going the way of the dinosaur, of the old YouTube guard. A lot of us make Patreon channels to see if we can keep doing what we're doing, or we say our goodbyes. Now you might be saying, Benny, I thought you had a Patreon before.
Or you start a comic book auction every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Or you send a OnlyFans, get a hot girl on there.
Well, actually, what you do is if you don't have that, you can start up a I'm here to listen OnlyFans page. Not saying I did it. But ladies, if you need someone to listen,
4. And we had the 4 in the past, but we treated it differently. We treated it as here's early access to our content because we're using it mostly as a tip jar. My philosophy has always been if we make enough a comic story, and I never wanted to ask the audience directly for any kind of compensation or help or anything like that. And we've done that for 13 years. I got out of the army and had the greatest job ever for 13 years doing this. And so if we have to end it at this point,
can you stop it for a sec?
But
yeah.
So, I mean, I've got a question because he said, as long as we've been making money, I've never wanted to ask the audience. Okay, so I'm curious then, how has he been monetizing his channel? Has it strictly been off of
ads.
YouTube?
AdSense.
Yeah.
He got big enough early enough that he could make several $1 million off of just the AdSense, and he's normie enough that he doesn't run afoul of YouTube's guidelines. Therefore,
by the way,
So
it goes on a
too.
scale. It goes on a scale. So when you get $1 per 1,000 views. So look at how many views my videos get and work that out for you. But you get $1 per 1,000 views, but it does work on an increasing scale. And this is, by the way, in the comic book area. If you're doing self-help or if you're doing mechanics, that kind of stuff, you get a higher RPM or whatever, CPM. But what it does is say at 1,000, I get $1. Okay. 2,000, that'll be $2. 3,000. Okay. Now we're talking, maybe I've got 4 or 5 coming from that video. All right. Once it gets to 10,000, now we're talking, I've made about $8, maybe $10 on the video. By 15,000, you're making $20 on the video. I've had, and it goes up just like that. So a video that makes 100,000, you're doing probably about $200 on it. Now, this is just by my experience. Can't say everybody's experience is the same. So, but I got a video that I made 600,000 on, or 600,000 views that paid out $2,500. Each time I made it that high. The I believe it's 400. It's almost at 500,000. The Monica Rambeau video that I made that made 400,000 paid out $2,000. So if you are in that area where you're making 100,000 to 1 million views, then, and especially if you've got a staff that allows you to put that out every day and you're making that, you're getting bank. You're getting bank. There was a time where this video, where this channel did actually help me pay my half of the bills, or when me and Gail were separated, actually helped pay the bills.
I mean, I guess I'm curious because I think what he's talking about now, he's way too late. I mean, if that's all he was relying on, again, I would need to see like his videos and his live streams. But
no,
I know it, knowing from other channels that I watch. I mean, there's in video ads, that they've gone out and gotten sponsorships for to generate revenue. Do the Patreon, because again, you're already in a niche audience, and if people like your stuff, give them plenty of ways to, tip you a few bucks, or I'd be curious, like if his live streams that he was talking about, if they had the super chats turned on.
Oh, I'll bet you freaking money he does. The problem with that, of course, is they take 35%, and it pays out in a month.
True, but
if
he's got a rabid fan, the thing is, if he's got a rabid fan base, then there are going to be super chats in there.
Now, I get paid. I'm a paycheck to paycheck person, so that's why I always say please go to Ko-Fi. The link's in the description below because they pay out right away. Hint. But
go to ko-fi.com/Puppeteen, drop $1 in a bill.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm not very good. I used to say it at the end really quick. Go on over, drop $1 in the till, yada yada.
I'll keep the lights on.
But I'm really not good at asking for stuff like that. VENKMAN saved this channel because he was like, "Why don't you, I saw some videos. Why don't you do an auction?" I've got
I
comics.
saved it because I want you all to suffer.
There you go.
I mean,
There you go.
the way he's talking, he's trying to make it sound like, if you don't pitch in, he's going to turn into the next Boogie 2988.
Right.
Well,
yeah. He's
be having
going to be
But
removed
his-
from San Francisco streets.
his house is going to get foreclosed on. He's going to have to start selling this stuff.
So I
behind
want
him.
to address that what Ahsoka's been saying. The dude has enough money in his, as far as everything around him is worth a couple grand or a couple $100 or more than that. He can pawn off, start eBaying stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff he could sell.
Gee, what's that like?
I mean, he doesn't have the cheapie, the $50 the plastic.
Oh no,
ones.
most of these statues that are on my wall are the PVC kind, except like the Superman and the Batman right there. Those are the porcelain, but I got those at the warehouse for 80% off. So the Superman's worth, I believe I saw it on eBay for $225. I paid $60. I'm just gonna Ahsoka's saying we know how much he pays employees. His past month highest is 88,000. Where do you get your numbers from? Yeah, that's
what I want to know.
I saw that too. In the past 2 years. Oh no, you can go to that. There is a website.
I think we're talking about that. Tells you the grade of your channel and everything.
Yeah, I've got it somewhere on my what do you call it? Where you save everything?
Silver Blaze is what you is what you're thinking of.
Social Blade.
And, yeah, Social Blade. But to explain to LK and also to kind of go off of what you were saying, E, I think part of and what Ahsoka said, I think part of the issue here is he is one of the old guard, like, e-celebs. He may be in a niche market, LK, but he was one of the first people to get here, and as a result, he has several million subscribers, unless I'm mistaken. And he gets several million views on every video he did.
I don't think that's
not so long ago. And I think what it is these kind of old guard YouTubers are all cut from a similar cloth, and they essentially get to the point of enjoying the e-celebrity and the financial bubble to the point that they don't actually think through long-term consequences. The same thing kind of happened to that guy with the glasses guys not so very long ago. There was a time when they were the Kevin Bacon of the internet. Like you couldn't throw a metaphoric cat without running into someone who was affiliated with that guy with the glasses.com, which then eventually became Channel Awesome. But because they were all, let's face it, a little bit narcissistic, and they thrived off of the e-celebrity, they doubled down on the fame and the glory and the hookers and blow, metaphorically speaking. And when the rug got pulled out from underneath them, they were surprised that they were, mere mortals who had to make a living just like everyone else on some levels.
Oh, if we're talking about Channel Awesome, there's a whole nother level of insanity and craziness that brought that whole enterprise down. But I mean, recently, if you want to look at something sad, so for those out there that know, Boogie 2988 was another one of these early old guard YouTubers, and he has, through his own devices, has fallen on hard times, shall we say, to the point where he paid somebody to actually make a documentary of his life, and it just came out. And I watched the first 30 minutes. It's one of the saddest, most pathetic things I've ever seen, and it doesn't paint him in any kind of sympathetic light at all. But that being said, I get, this is where, again, I guess I'll fault him, because I know there's other channels that I currently follow that, have used all sorts of different channels and opportunities to basically monetize themselves and, make money off of it, in terms of, things like the YouTube subscription model now that's come out, that's become very popular. Where if you're a subscriber to the channel, you get to see the kind of the live broadcast first, And then, you know,
Well-
pieces, and then they'll cut it up and like pieces will be there, but it'll also
Yeah.
be a podcast available and things like that.
I was thinking about that as well. Do the live streams and put them on the Ko-Fi, put it behind, and maybe put a piece of it out. And that's kind of like you do see that with some other channels. But one thing that I've seen, and I'm thinking this is the way it's going to go, is that I might take the live streams down after we do them, and then they're up for people who do go through it, because you do have to worry. You know, I mean, this is, as I used to say, this is the way I'm trying to make a living. I love doing it, but I've got a family, you know, so I got to take care of it. I haven't actually pulled the trigger on a lot of stuff I thought about, like putting stuff behind the paywall and everything, mainly because of MARANYA and Eric. They've both expressed zero interest in doing that, and I do not want. I love them. You know, they're family, so I've never actually pulled the trigger on that, because I cannot figure out how to say, okay, well, because I would like to say, here you go, here's one for you, here's one for everybody who works on the channel, you know, so we can at least get into them. But I just checked out his channel. In all honesty, Comicstorian is going through the same thing I am. He's got 2.96 million viewers, almost 3 million viewers, and his last biggest video was 111,000 views. That sounds like a lot to me, but if you've got 2.9, that's what? That's 0.003% or
Yeah.
1%. Yeah, it's if you've got a staff, he's making on videos. Now, he may have other deals going on where he's got advertisers and all that sort of stuff making money for him, but video to video, he's making about $100 a day. Roundabout, maybe 200. And if he's got a staff, that ain't that yeah, you're not doing that.
According to
because
Social
100
Blade, his estimated monthly earnings is $873, so $14K. Or
yeah, that's Social Blade for you. Sure, you could get some some measurements from Social Blade, but don't go by on the money, because they go, okay, they're either making $1 or $1 million. But somewhere between there, you know.
His views for the last 30 days is over 3.49 million.
Wow. Doing better than I am.
He's down 2.5% though. It's hurting.
There you go. All right, let's go here.
If you want us to keep going, if you do want all these comic book videos, then join us over at Patreon and YouTube memberships. Now we're going to be doing 2 live streams per month where we sit down with the members and the Patreons, and we do direct Q&A, answering any questions you guys want while talking about the latest comic books to kind of fill the void while we wait for your comments.
Maybe
we're also
that's
going
what
to
we
be
should
bringing back Comics Experiment as a podcast that we put out every other week, and on the off week we'll bring back Dungeons and Ale, our D&D game where we basically do DC characters or Marvel characters. We're also going to continue to give you guys early access to all of our videos that are coming out. You'll also have a vote on a once a week or every other week. We have to see how the workflow works with that, where you guys can pick some of the more obscure comic books that I can't put out on Comicstorian as it stands. Right now, I basically need to do a Batman video every other day because we need to maintain some semblance of views. But if we have your support, we no longer have to worry about that. That means that I can focus more on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Power Rangers or Godzilla or
You suggesting you can't get views with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Radiant Black. And this also would allow the company to continue to grow, continue to expand. We'd be able to do absolutely more, even possibly more often. We'd be able to live stream more, even possibly more often, and things like that.
Well, that's a whole load of horse shit. That is a bunch of horse shit. Do you know what it takes to do a live stream? It takes, here's the camera, let me turn it on and start fucking talking. That's a load of shit right there.
And then you have your 16 employees edit it for you.
Yeah, I know, right? At the very least, he's got somebody with a board going, okay, here's a sound effect, here's a picture, here was it, if he wants.
Go to Twitch, play video games.
The worst thing I have to worry about when I do a live stream is anybody going to join me tonight, or do I have to figure out how to do this on my own? Which even then it's like, okay, let me try to talk long enough for one of you guys to bring up a topic that we could talk about that after, you know? So that is really just knowing your shit and being able to speak on, I'm like stumbling over being able to speak in public clearly. That's it. You know, can you stall? Can you just go off on and start talking about nothing until it becomes a conversation? That is the hardest thing you have to worry about as far as live stream. This guy is full of shit on this point.
Well, it also seems like that. It also seems like he's not very interactive with his audience. I'm really getting that feeling. I mean, especially the fact of talking about, oh, we're going to cut back and we're going to do just two live videos a month. It's like, dude, no, you need to be doing at least one of those a week. What are you doing?
Yep.
And just as Ahsoka's saying that his new stuff is barely breaking 40,000 views. It definitely seems like I'm not gonna say he's taken his audience for granted, but there's not that consistent interactivity with the audience. And hey, I know you love or hate Gary. One thing that he does well is connect with the audience that he has. He does at least 2 live shows a week, and takes questions and interacts with the audience.
I get it with Gary because he's got so many people. He can't do what I do. Not anymore. Now, granted, sometimes I get onto a rant or something like this where we're going through. It's already been like half an hour. We've been talking about a 7-minute video. If it's something like this, I can't always take comments, but somebody like Gary cannot do the comment section. Somebody like Comic Storian would be in the same boat. He would have to separate it out and do different videos to be able to answer all the questions and such.
So he does.
That's what you have a staff for, and usually it's the staff person or the producer that's sitting there and then pulling up the super chats, or if there's a real particular comment to pull up and post. I mean, and if apparently he's got a staff, so they should. They
at the very least they can gather. They can gather super chats and such. Go on ahead, Dalton.
Well, and to LK's point, and also to, I think it was Underworld Dream a while ago said something about Channel Awesome dying because of e-drama. I think what it is with people in this particular niche, in this particular generation who got into YouTube early and have millions upon millions of subscribers, they got high off of their own celebrity. And so they honestly, on some level, they've been subsisting on their own bubble of fame for so long that they never thought of interacting with the audience the way Anglantine does, and so on. And I guarantee you that with every single one of these old guard YouTubers, there is going to be e-drama behind the scenes. And stuff like this is how you can tell there's usually e-drama behind the scenes, because it's only when the wheels are already coming off the cart that videos like this get made. And I know that from experience of what happened to Channel Awesome. I know that from experience of what happened to basically everyone who was connected to them. I know that from experience of all these other old guard people who, like Boogie, who are here one day, gone the next.
I had a video like that when I was like, God damn it, what am I? I've had a few of them, whereas I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm going to do now, because you do worry about it. Look, if this is the way you're making your living, and all of a sudden that gets yanked out of, and he's making some money. Now, if it was just him, he's making money. He's got at least a really good job, but it would be a Joe job as far as the money he was making straight off of the ads. Once again, I'm sure he's got some other stuff, but considering that he was making $180,000 a month in the past, that man better sock some away. But I don't know. Anyway, let's move forward with this. Get it done and over with because we're almost to the end.
So that's kind of where we're at. Instead of me doing my original plan, in which I was just going to kind of slowly reel things down and call it a day and say, hey, this was a hell of a ride, we thought we'd bring it to you. Bring you the crossroads that Comicstorian is at. Do we all just celebrate 13 years and call it a day? Or do we keep going and see if we can get even bigger before 2025 with your help? I appreciate you watching this video all the way through. If you want to know the nitty gritty of a lot of this stuff, like what happened with the investor and things like that, I'm an open book and you can reach out to me on Discord, but I didn't want to bog this video down with that whole thing because if you want to hear the story, it's going to take some time.
And of course, you're going to have to pay for it. So there you go. That's what I would do. I mean, I'm sorry, but if he's got the numbers, he's got people, it's like, okay, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to tell you the whole story, every little detail. It's going to be on YouTube Premium and it's going to be on Ko-Fi. It's going to be on Patreon, so forth and so on. So go on over. I did notice Ahsoka saying he reads new comics. He never covers the older stuff. That's Geeky Puppet's job, by the way. You guys want to learn about older comics, you go to From the Long Box or Geeky Puppet Show, preferably From the Long Box, or both.
Well, it depends. If you want to sit back and watch somebody read the old comic book to you, see the art and everything, but we ham it up, that's your thing. If you want to see someone give you the in-depth information, like, go to E.
When we were on this channel, when we were doing what you do over there, I called it Bad Comic Theater because basically it's a whole bunch of bad actors, hokey actors, and enjoying reading the comics.
Yours was tame over here. Go check out.
You guys went off. But I brought you guys back a couple of times, and I realized I am not a part of this anymore. You guys went off on your own.
Go check out the video on here. It's called The First Prince, Hawk and Dove. Watch that on here. We did it a year ago. Graphic Guy was on channel 2, guys, everything. Watch how we read in there, and then go watch what we recently just uploaded over on Geeky Puppet Show and see the difference.
Yeah.
But when the old man takes the leash off, and we can just do what we want to do.
Yeah,
it's just a bunch of rabid dogs just running around.
The problem with us also, or with this channel here, is I am trying to make money over here, and I got to get rid of the bad ideas, the stuff that's not working, and the Bad Comic Theater. And this happens with a lot of the stuff. It's like even with Jeopardy. Jeopardy started here, and then just kind of went down. It's like, wait a second. The way it's supposed to work is the other way. You gain people. You go, we're going to get some more as people jump on it. And unfortunately, that's the way it happened with Comic Book Thunderdome, the Bad Comic Theater, the Jeopardy games, the Gabby Awards, the Spirit Awards, all those big shows I used to do.
Are you planning on doing any of the awards and all the end of the year?
No. They just don't get views. I would love to. I love doing the awards.
All right. They don't get views. How about we do it on my channel? And see.
Okay, here's what we'd have to do. In order to do it here, I can't let the audience decide what the nominees are anymore. Because it works like this. You do the nominee show, you probably got in the beginning, when it was popular, you would have 800 people watching it. You would have maybe 100 people participating, but still that's a good amount of votes. The way it is now is you'll have 15, 20 people watching, maybe 4 or 5 vote. Okay. That's not enough. So, but then when it comes to voting, it's almost like the audience has been through it. So instead of 15 people watching or participating, you get 7 people watching the video.
I've been thinking about that too. Not just like the chat can have their own thing, but they can.
Did we really just drop down to 5 people?
Yeah,
3 people. I mean,
my phone turned off.
Oh, there you go. Oh.
I was just thinking about
I noticed nobody's talking anymore.
When we do the best of the weeks, I mean, I look at some people put in their own list. If they're like Undead Quinn comes out, pops in for top 5. He gives us his top 5, what he thinks he's most looking forward to.
Yeah, you want to kind of go in that direction.
So I kind of feel like if you did you'd have 4 people on the panel, like this where we are now, and this is the books we read this year, and this is how we feel. This is each of us put our own nominee on there as far as that. And then what you could do, if you really wanted to, you could put that out. Okay, which of these 4 that we chose would you vote for as a poll? Put it on Twitter, of all places. You know, best book of the year, or and then you could also do worst, if you want to as well.
I don't get responses on Twitter. So even when I do movies, when I do TV, comics, whatever, there's I have a I don't get responses on Twitter.
Marani says he was talking about you, but you got drowned out by Ahsoka.
Ahsoka's telling the story of comic story in there. So
Marani says, "Want to get a laugh?" At first, I thought that the guy in the video was John Del Rose, but with long hair.
I saw that with the long hair.
Because he wrote an article, and I didn't see the comic story.
Hey, by the way, he did put out that tweet, and this is where it's like, okay, bounding into comics once again. They're not always reliable. So he put out a response. People are already trying to spin my decision to seek Patreon and YouTube memberships as comic book decline issue. First, I never said that. I said there hasn't been any big events like King in Black or huge movies like Spider-Man. Claiming a decline in comic book industry is the issue, is literally putting words in my mouth. Let me teach you a little, YouTube, you morons. Trying to add things to my statement. Videos succeed easily from tentpole events. A tentpole event is something everyone is talking about. Since when? Marvel hasn't had something people were talking about in years. I've been on YouTube for 13 years, so I'm working uphill on the algorithm combined with no significant tentpole events in the industry. There are also 3 other things I named off in the video, which are hitting us worse than the algorithm or tentpole events. But none of that feeds the narrative that they want to spin. Just watch the video if you want to know why we're looking to seek funding off of YouTube. By the way, YouTube is also just really going after people now. There's maybe 6 words in the English language you're allowed to use while still being monetized. That's gotten ridiculous. You can't. I'm dead because I'm political. I am not afraid to say my politics, and my politics are not YouTube's politics. So they're not willing to share. And by the way, they know when you say. You don't have to write it down. They know when you say something. Go on ahead.
Exactly. That's why when I was most of the time I come on here, I don't even talk the whole entire time. I just have my head on there, and they get triggered by it. So that's why I switched hats for you.
With the hat. Yeah. Thank you.
But
and that's why you get ridiculous statements like that woman was brutally raped. I'm sorry, but you should never soften that word. Go on ahead, LK.
Well, again, this reads like, and I was looking at his page because I was kind of curious. But it seems like he's having to make sure that he hasn't upset, the usual crowd of SJWs and people that have ruined the industry. That it sounds totally like he is trying to suck up to the Heidi McDonald's and the Rich Johnson types with that comment. Because I mean, the fact is I'm sorry, but if there wasn't a comic decline, if the movies were actually good, he wouldn't necessarily be having this problem. He certainly wouldn't put out a video like this. And just also kind of looking at, so if you go on the Comic Historian page right now, it's basically he does videos that are between like 7 to 10 minutes long. I mean, those are the videos he's doing. I don't know what live stuff that he's doing, if he immediately takes those down or what have you, but
yeah, he's only got 2. One was done 9 months ago, and this one is done 2 weeks ago. That's the bulk of his videos. And
I took a quick look at like a video from September, and so basically he does have in video ads. The one I saw was he had a sponsor for some razor, one of these online razor companies, and then it looks like he has about at that point in time he had 75 or so patrons that hit the tier high enough to get in the thank you credits, which, looking at his Patreon page, means it was probably making about, I'll be generous and say he's maybe at that point in time he was making $1,000 a month off of Patreon. Well, okay, his Patreon says he has 190 paid members, but you know,
well, you would figure it would depend on, does he have tier lists, and you have your $1, your $5s, your 10s, because he might have a lot of 10, and he might, because he's one of the bigger guys, just only have 10. So he may just be doing the 1,000.
You know, and the other thing too that I'm going to say is, at least looking at the title of his videos, it doesn't seem like he criticizes things much. Which means if he's always saying this is great and this is great and this is good, then you run into a problem, because now you're inauthentic with your audience, especially if you're saying something's good that is
like
bad.
Superior Spider-Man and Miles looking fly as in that vampire killing trench coat.
And I understand the whole thing with the not talking about the bad books.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if I just talk about the bad books, I never get a chance to talk about the good books. And if you want to hear people talk about the bad books, there's so many channels out there right now that are shitting on bad books.
The problem with that is it's very hard to cultivate an audience that are critical thinkers, which is something I started, and God bless you guys for sticking around. Something I tried to start at the very beginning, because you have people who were they were getting mad. Like if I read a Ta-Nehisi Coates Captain America, which if you guys remember, the first few Ta-Nehisi Coates Captain Americas were actually not bad according to my reviews. And I said it.
I looked, the first 6 is the end of the first 5. I got into the 6th one, and that's where it's like, oh, Peggy Carter's here.
And my God, did people, oh, you just went SJW, and forget about that. If you ever have look, there's a pecking order. And if you go after Ethan Van Sciver when you're not as big as Ethan Van Sciver, oh, fuck you, I'm with Ethan. You get that kind of stuff as people leave as well. That happened with me with DNC when my brother insulted DNC when he tried to insult Captain Cummings. Oh, fuck you, I stand with DNC. After a while, it gets to the point where, okay, you know what? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And when you're shadow banned, fuck it, what are you going to do? It's actually, as much as a problem, it's also very freeing when there ain't much lower you can make me go here, guys. So when you're in the basement, you can shout and most people don't hear. Just ask this young lady I've got. Okay, what do you have, Dalton?
To LK's point, I don't think it's him kowtowing to the SJWs. I think he is just one of those normies who is vaguely SJW minded. I've seen his I've watched enough of his videos to know he tends to lean in an SJW word direction. He might not be full SJW, but part of the reason he doesn't criticize things much is because he seems to be one of those people who actually does believe that something like Secret Empire is good, or something like something like America Chavez, written by Gabby Rivera, is good. I don't think he's being disingenuous. I think he's just that kind of sort of milquetoast normie who leans to the vague left that actually sides with the SJWs of his own volition.
Well, and I'm sure that might be true, but I mean, specifically looking at that, I'll still call them tweets that he sent out. That was the classic, hey, that somebody took him aside or, sent him a DM saying, hey, do you see all these wrong people are using your video and saying, oh, it proves that there's a comic decline. You can't let them get away with that. What are you doing? I mean, hell, I could see Heidi McDonald, for example, getting into his DM saying, what are you doing? And then he has to come out with, his little hostage tweet there. Oh, I didn't say it was because of a comics decline. I'm saying it's because of all these other reasons. I mean, that's almost very similar to that horrible article that McDonald wrote, basically, browbeating, the poor store, I think it was in Los Angeles, that was closing, that had them, and kind of, she was saying like, well, you're not closing because of, the bad comics, right? you're not closing because nobody's buying stuff anymore.
Yeah, that actually was a thing that she said.
And
Also-
and to that point, do keep in mind that one of the things the SJWs love to do is infight. I mean, speaking of that guy with the glasses nostalgia, anyone remember Lindsay Ellis after she ditched the Nostalgia Chick label, but around the time she went full BreadTube or BreadTube adjacent, they
Hot dog girl,
canceled her like 5 or 6 or 7 times because she still talked like a lefty circa 2007, and we just don't talk like that anymore. So it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly reasonable to assume that he is both SJW adjacent and that he had a talking to, because the SJWs circle the wagon and eat each other like nobody else does. Yeah, I mean, this is the side of politics that invented the struggle session, lest we forget.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
And I think that he probably experienced his own little struggle session after he came out with his video.
Yeah. So there you go. That's the drama with Comic Storian. The whole thing with the Wile Coyote, the movie's not dead. That's good to hear. I'm interested in seeing what's the what's going on with it. I do wish they could do the same with Batgirl, but like you said, I do agree with you. It is not happening. I just saw one more thing that I'm going to say I'm very happy with, but it looks like they're going to be putting out a Godzilla omnibus for Marvel Comics.
Makes sense with all the Godzilla's coming out, Apple TV, and there's supposed to be another movie still.
Yeah. Well, and I did see that the Peter David Todd Knock Young Justice run is getting an omnibus, so that's very good news indeed. Hopefully people will get out there and buy that, because I know Peter has a whole lot of medical bills that he is trying to pay off, and unfortunately his health continues to get worse.
Just had
I gotta do that. I tried doing a GoFundMe. I started feeling bad. I'm not very good about asking money, but I do want to be able to hire. I was going to hire my niece. Come on over, work for me. Don't go get a job out somewhere else where she could do exactly what I was saying. Bring in pictures and make sure that if you can help me where I can do the recording and do this, I could get out so many videos and set up January, February, and so forth to where a couple of months ahead. Yeah.
I would say do a test run as an intern, see what happens if she's able to do it, and then see if it does anything, and then pay her later. Just do a sample. Do a sample. Do 1 or 2 videos. Have her do that.
Well, there is a problem. There is that I was hoping to solve with a GoFundMe, is that I don't know if she's got a laptop. So I was going to ask for $2,500, of which was going to go and get a laptop so she could actually do the job. So that was part of it. That's why it's so much. Otherwise, whatever's left over would go into inventory for the auction. So it would all be helping out the channel.
Trusty's been having issues with his PC, so he's transferring over from the laptop over to his desktop.
Yeah,
he's been in like an 8-second delay on the readings.
Yeah, with I told Gail, I said I need to do this anyway because I need a backup. Like, what if this computer dies tonight? I don't have the money to go get. So I thought,
Well, doesn't Walmart external hard drives?
What?
External hard drive? You can put all your files onto that.
No, but I can't do an auction. I make my money through the live stream. So if it dies tonight,
I understand that, but I mean, you still want to have external hard drive too. If you don't have,
I've got 3 like 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte.
Okay,
things.
you do have that because you can need that too.
And I asked because my mom gave me the phone call. What do you want for Christmas? And I said I need practical things because I don't have the money for the. Yeah, I didn't ask for a whole computer. I did ask for a, if you can do it, 3 terabyte hard drive or VidQ. Not VidQ, but Movavi, the editing software. I'm learning how to use that. So I'm hoping to make the videos a little bit more dynamic than they actually are now. Let's see. Part of his deal, meaning Comic Storian, is that if he doesn't keep DC and Marvel happy, they'll be able to copyright strike him out of existence. That is true, by the way. I cannot do Archie books because Archie will copyright your ass. They hit me with a couple of claims. Now that isn't to say that you get strikes and you'll be taken down. It's just that they might remove your video, but if they decide to be dicks, they could give you a strike, but usually it's just a claim.
Have you had anything on our Archie versus Punisher yet? I went to the pirate side.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's your video. You go check that out.
I'm just saying. So I don't know why they go after you for that.
I keep. Oh no, I did Vampironica.
Oh, okay.
And I did this. I did one of those kind of like a panel to panel reading, going through it, and gone. I heard Isom. What's his name? Young Rippa, Eric July. Yeah, I hear he goes after people too. So be careful. You didn't ask for a poll for Under the Bridge. No. We more so for Under the Bridge. We need knee pads.
Don't call me this, but I'll make fun of you. you're walking a fine line there.
Criticism. That's Glenzer. That's actually what I heard. July did. That is what Archie Comics did with me as well.
Yeah.
So Western comics are not dead. Life support, yes. Well, we of course see it all the time. This is dead. That's dead. Blah 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 blah. No, comics aren't going to die. They may change. Then, like I said, they may change in ways that we don't like, but they're going to be around in some way, shape, or form.
That's
heck. Remember that the average comic book was like this big in the 1940s. Now they're
not just print. Look at television. Television's not going away anytime soon, and they're one of the most biggest book things there is around here. As far as TV shows out.
Shonen, the others are the big kids on the block. Yep. And there we go. Anywho, what do we got going on? So tomorrow, Maranya is going to take a break. She's wanting to pull back on the Marvel RPG for a little bit before she comes back. If she comes back, it's up to her. So I guess I'll have to step up and actually work. Okay. Let's see. And tomorrow you're doing your comics I want to buy.
Yep. Top 5 is 8 p.m. We and Zach. 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern.
I might actually read a book I've been threatening to read. The Fire and Ice or Spider Boy.
And Marani says no, she is doing the RPG tomorrow.
Oh, you are doing the RPG. Okay.
She didn't do it last week.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Anywho, it's up to you, Maranya. Like I said, I leave 10:30 open for you. All righty. But there you go. Check that out. 10:30 tomorrow. I might do a reading. I might not. I'm getting very freaking lazy. But actually, the reason I would do one is because I don't want Dancing with the Stars spoiled. My mother-in-law watches it downstairs. I don't have a wall, and so I hear it. And Gail's got me caught on that show now. But that would probably be around 8 o'clock. You need to be there at the beginning. Okay, yeah. And then Dalton, you have anything going
on? Wednesdays I do the Duality of Man with Mr. E2099. I believe this week we're doing a white pill episode because a lot of the men's issue stuff you get black pilled really easily because it's a series of defeats. So we're basically doing a Take the W's stream where we go over the victories of the men's rights movement. I believe that's this week. It might be next week. I forget if we decided to change the topic or not.
And I invite both of you. I know you'll be busy, but if I do a reading, I'll leave the link. And there you go.
Oh, are we riffing another bad comic?
I know LK. You're like, woo, Spider Boy.
I have not even looked at that one.
You know, it's so easy for you to just read every Amazing Spider-Man that comes out. It's the same crap.
It's all bad. I know. But yeah, we could give something a try like that. Gotta give Iowa a try, providing you are contrary. Music Man.
I mean, I will say I was disappointed, and I'm not going to say Innocenti's lost her fastball, but her 5-issue Captain Marvel Dark Tempest, I think it is not good. That is not a good. It's not a good miniseries.
Tempest?
It's Captain Marvel Dark Tempest. It was a 5-issue miniseries, and you're thinking, oh, Ann Nocenti. Oh, okay, this should be interesting. And it's not a good book. It deals with, it's almost like trying to, part of the book is trying to create this new group of kids that get powers, and they're just angsty, just not interesting characters, and just the whole story is not very good. And honestly, Carol is a bit of a villain in this book. I'm perfectly honest.
She is in a lot of her books.
I'm just looking at a lot of the books from last week. There's a lot of them you can do. I mean, you probably already did Punisher, but Birds of Prey number 3.
No, I haven't read the Punisher even. I've got a lot of books to.
Uncanny Spider-Man.
I got to do this and just start reading, and maybe I'll just put them on the other channel.
From another video from a different channel, I would say Stealth Bad Book of the Week is Thanos #1.
Okay, what was the other channel?
From Maranya's favorite writer, Christopher Can't Write Well.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a Thanos book it's a Thanos book that doesn't have Thanos in it.
I'm just saying, check. Just all you gotta do is just whatever. Pick an X book, and you can just read that because it's the same damn thing. It's the same thing. It's horrible.
Now, since we're doing one of our famous 45-minute goodbyes, let me actually show some off that this is what I've been reading instead of new books. By the way, my shelf here, my hardcover shelf, provides a lot of good stuff. My desk has a shelf on the side with all my omnibuses, but I reread this, by the way. This is The Freedom Fighters by Robert Venditti, who has really become my favorite author. And the Nazis won the war. It's in that universe, and they killed the original freedom fighters, and they're trying to get the American spirit back so they can raise Uncle Sam, because he's not really a person. He's a avatar for the spirit of America. And it's just them. They're exactly what they say. They're freedom fighters. They go from one place, hit it quick, run one place, hit it quick. Sometimes they lose people and so forth because it is war. The art is really good. The story is fucking awesome. And I gotta tell you, when Uncle Sam's, it's like, oh man, I remember when they celebrated patriotism in school. Where the did that happen? Because I was like that too. Woo! All right, yay! You know, I didn't actually do that because I don't have those reactions when I'm reading. And my wife would have me put away. Another book that I read that is just freaking fantastic. It's called The 12 by Michael J. Straczynski. Now, these are obscure Marvel Golden Age characters. And this one here, there you go. And in this one, they end up they're fighting the Nazis. They find a Nazi hideout, and it ends up being a trap where these Golden Age heroes end up getting put to sleep. They're found in modern day, in this case in the 2000s, and they're revived, and something's going on. Somebody is killing people. And so they got to figure out who. It's kind of like a companion to the Golden Age. It's Marvel's version of it. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I like Golden Age a bit better, but still very, very, very good book there. So those are two good stories. If you can find them, do yourself a favor. Check them out. All righty. Let's see what we got to contribute to this channel, go on over to Ko-Fi. Links in the description below. Maranya's sharing it right here. Just there's a tip jar. You can just hey, thanks for the videos, man. Here you go. Here's $1, and here's 2 or 3 to send to the guys. Let them be professional. Let's see, top 3 lauded books that are spoken of, in my opinion: Killing Joke, great art, good story, Dark Knight Returns, and she's never read The Watchmen.
Also,
we did that live stream last week.
For those who are Jeff Johns fans, Geiger #1 comes out tomorrow.
Oh, that's nice.
Or Wednesday, yeah. So
all righty.
Something agreed.
So with all that said, gotta say thank you very much, guys. Don't forget to do all the clicking and the liking. It doesn't take anything. Just click. Look, here you go. I did it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Very, very easy to do. Share the video out. Let us grow our audience. And if you don't mind helping out the channel, link to Ko-Fi is in the description below. Drop $1 in the tip jar. Thank you to everyone who's already done that. Everyone who supported this channel either through that way or the auction. And to everyone else, to all the true believers. Thank you very, very much for watching.
Cheers, guys.
Have a good night.